Welcome to MUT's 513, and brought my clothes. Chad, let me give you a syllabus, and we'll go over these things again. I thought maybe we would start with some ear training today and also look over one particular theory text. I think we're on the 9th or 10th edition of Music for Sight Singing by Ottman. I've used all 9 editions in my life. So let's begin by talking a little bit about ear training. What is the goal? I'm asking the class, what is the goal of ear training? What's the goal of ear training?
To hear intervals.
Very good. Anything else?
To translate that to an instrument.
Could be if we were instrumentalists, but and these are all byproducts, if not goals, for sure.
Just to learn to listen.
Learning to listen. I think the key is when you hear something, you understand it because you've been musicians all your life. If you can look at something and hear it and understand it, you have intellectualized something that is essentially the product of the human body, right? We don't really know how we hear and understand and stuff. It's kind of, it's depending on your outlook on life, but so if I can take a piece of music and know what it sounds like, that's pretty valuable. Or if I can look at it and sing a snippet of it, that's useful as a teacher. More to the core is all professional musicians are trained in ear training. So for no other reason than that, we want to make our students have a common vocabulary of music. Now, how do we do this? What is the best way to teach sight singing?
Well, I mean, I guess there are many ways, and I don't know that there's a best way. Whatever works best for the kid, because they all learn differently.
Okay, I agree with you, and I'm going to disagree with you in another way. It's not about so much what works best for the student as the quality of the instruction. Okay? Here is the reason I teach movable do solfege. In my opinion, that if you ask a person, would you like to know solfege? They would say yes, because it's cool. You know, it's not that cool, but in terms of like music cool, to be able to know your solfege syllables. And it puts us into a, you know, something that's been going since we started musical notation, oot, re, you know, that kind of stuff. So if that's a fact, well, I would like to know solfege because I'd like to know solfege, then the only way to do it is to make you do it. even though you want to do it. You won't do it unless you're made to do it. Solfege is not something that we just like pick up on our own, like typing or something. It's possible that we could, but we don't. So the major ways that we teach sight singing in terms of the syllables are as follows, and I like to use them all, but focus on solfege. So what we have is, you could just use the letters, and I find that highly profitable, particularly when you're learning things in the very beginning, like, oh, well, I'm learning my scales, so let's sing the actual letter names. Now, then you have to make a decision, am I using diatonic letter names or am I using chromatic letter names, as in A flat, B flat, C, D flat, E flat, F, G something, A flat. That's probably okay. That's okay for singing scales. In terms of singing sight singing, it gets a little awkward. So sometimes people put it in a key and then just sing the diatonic letters. I don't believe that is the best way. I think what you use actual letter names for is scales and what we call DNPs, or diatonic number patterns. That could also be diatonic syllable patterns or anything like that. What would a diatonic number pattern be? It would use the scale degrees. So if I were in the key of Do, anybody know what key that is?
C.
C.
I have no idea. I don't have perfect pitch. My son does. He's an unemployed pianist. I have two other sons without perfect pitch who actually do better than that, than the unemployment thing. So if I sing Do or C or 1, am I still singing a C? 1. So here's a diatonic number pattern. 1 3 5 3 1. Another one. 5 3 1 5. 8 7 6 5 3 1. Those are some diatonic number patterns. Could we go Do mi so mi do, so mi do so, do ti la so mi do. Same thing, right? C E G E C, G E C G, C B A G E C. There's value in doing all of those. Now, why are numbers good? When we write in music, music is an interesting thing in that it has no zeros, but we use numbers. Now, we can't get our numbers confused, so now we're going to have a little number lesson. The numbers we're talking about right now are called scale degrees, and they are marked with carats on top. Now that's carats as in I have a 45 carat diamond ring, and not as like I eat carrots because they're good roughage. Okay? Do you know the difference? C-A-R-E-T? A-T? A-T, C-A-R-A-T? Huh?
I thought there's 3 types.
There could be.
I mean, the reason I say is because actually last week one of my students was asking something, and cause I like wrote in Carrot on like part of their music, and they're like, what's that? So, and have you ever seen it, like, the teacher add a carrot in, an essay or anything? She's like, no, and so I looked it up, and kind of
Like
the
that?
story. Yeah,
And it's spelled how?
there's, C-A-R-E-T is that kind, and then the other kind,
Is
not,
AT?
is A-T, and that's like,
The diamond.
long black
Yeah.
hair gold or whatever. And then there's
Somebody
the-
give it the wiki. It's the C-A-R-E-T, so let's not continue this
Absolutely.
misinformation any longer.
Okay.
It could be
It's
a
an inverted V shape.
All right, there you have it.
Yeah,
E.T.
E.T.
Come on! Okay, so these are called Arabic numerals, and we usually don't use 8, but you can use 8 and 1 depending on. I use 8, don't I? I just sang 8, didn't I? All right, so that I like to teach that in a broader theoretical way because I think scale degrees are real important when you talk about structural analysis of music and Schenker analysis and higher forms of analysis. In Schenker analysis, you basically reduce everything to 1-5-1, and you do it over the course of a phrase, over the course of a movement, over a course of a piece, and it is very, it's not something we teach here so much, but it's something that you might entertain having some interest in. Heinrich Schenker was a early 20th century German theorist, and everybody's after World War II really started to get involved with this stuff, and in the 70s, huge explosion of Schenkerian analysis made my life terribly dreary, I'm gonna have to say. But what the scale degrees give us is that we can think about our voice leading with the melody, thinking of scale degrees. Now we can also think about them as solfege syllables, but I think for theoretical purposes, scale degrees work pretty well too. So if I take these same scale degrees, the nice thing about solfege is each of the letters is different, so I don't really have to write both letters. Do is spelled do, re is spelled re, D-O, D-O, R-E-M-I, F-A, S-O-L like the sun, la, la-ti-do, okay? Now, along with this, in younger grades, people use what's called the Kirwan-Han symbols for syllables. I don't know whether any of you know those. Do you know that? Were you in children's choir or something?
Yeah.
I don't teach that in a college class. But there is some value to it. It just what did you see as the value of it?
I actually learned them in a class for teaching children's choir,
I see.
and I didn't actually learn them in
Oh,
a children's
okay.
choir. So
Can you sing using them?
I had about a week of the class, so it was a real short class. So I learned them, but I'm not real practiced.
I think what it does is give the body a physical response to some people really believe in them. So that's something we can investigate a little bit later. I had one student who really pushed them, but I didn't really do it. Now, the other thing is neutral syllables. I don't think I have to write those on the board. La 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 la. And letter names. Okay. Now I like to do things, you're gonna do some things in music theory ahead of the ear training, and some things ear training is gonna be ahead of the music. Now what we didn't talk about yesterday was moving forward from intervals into the circle of fifths, how key signatures are formed, and how minor scales are derived from major key signatures. I think we pretty much understand all this, but I'll still teach it later today. But in this situation, we're going to go ahead and learn something in our singing that will continue through 2 years of study that we won't necessarily understand. You get the point? I have to go ahead with this. All right, you might not understand all the concepts right when you start learning them. The first thing we're going to do is learn to sing a scale. And let's make it a C major scale. And let's use solfege syllables. You can refer to the board if you don't have solfege, okay? So mainly what you want to do is give not too much help to start. So let's just sing while I play along. 1, 2, ready, sing. Start on do, and you three people start on do when they're on me. Okay? 1, 2, ready, sing. Everybody understand how we're doing that? You got it? Got it?
Yep.
So we're not going to use the piano this time. Ready, sing.
Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do.
Okay. Let's switch. You three start the singing, and you three two follow. Ready? Sing.
Do, re, mi, fa, si, fa, sol, la, ti, la, si, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do.
Okay, I like to do stuff like that as soon as possible, just to hear like the beauty of voices. Now, the next thing that I always teach, and this is just me, you could do other things, is to teach the students to sing the following. Do, mi, so, mi, do, so, ti, re, fa, re, ti, so, do, do, la, fa, do, so, mi, do, fa, re, ti, do. Now, what do I teach when I do this? Okay? When I teach this, do, re, do, re, do, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So we kind of end up on the wrong beat. 1, 2, 3, 1. All right, so you want the student to follow right along. So what else have we done?
Arpeggios.
tonic triad. Dominant seventh chord that the student is not going to understand, you know, the first 2 days of class. They're not going to really, they'll know what it sounds like. I know what that sounds like, and it ought to go to that. Students know things with their ear, and what our job is to give them an intellectual, teach them some terms or tell them what they're doing. So, do. So we've established the key. And then we're basically doing a major 6/4 chord, 1 chord, and then 7 with a C pedal. Does that make sense? That's all hierarchical. That's a big word for no reason. Higher level theory terms. Like even this, when you're going. From do to fa, but then it turns out to be 7. Now, what is so intriguing about 7? Okay, that would be 7 in the key of C. Dominant 7th, right? So all of the goody of the dominant 7th chord is portrayed in the 7th chord. Does that make sense? And this tritone must be resolved. So really, from the very first moment, we're going to incorporate higher level theoretical things into our singing, and then just keep them there for the next 2 years. Every time we establish a key, we just do that. You could add other things to it. This is just, so let's review what we did. And if you want to write it down, you can do that. It would be do, mi, so, mi, do. So that is do, mi, so, mi, do, or C, E, G, E, C. Then we go down, and sometimes this is a problem in some keys, sometimes it's not. So, ti, re, fa, G, B, D, F, D, B, G, do, and we hold that for whatever 2 or 4 we're in, do, and then we sing do again, but in the context of a neighbor 6/4 chord, F-A-C in second inversion, do, la, so we get to sing that major 6th, do, la, fa, do, now we get to sing perfect 5th, do, so, mi, and then we sing perfect 4th, do, fa, re, ti, ti, do. Had a little retardation on that one.
Do.
Homer Simpson soulfish. Do. Okay, now this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna sing a C major scale. So do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, la, so, fa, mi, re, do. Next beat. Do, mi, so, ti, re, ti, so, do, la, fa, do, so, mi, do, fa, re, ti, do. I got that? We ready?
Sure.
Okay, 1, Let me see if we're still on C.
Mm.
1, 2, ready, sing. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Do, mi, so, mi, do. So, ti, re, fa, re, ti, so. Do. Now 3. Do, la, fa, do, so, mi, do, fa, re, ti, do. Okay? Now we've established the key. Now we're going to do it with the 3 forms of the minor scale. Alright? Now, let's be clear. There's no such thing as a minor scale. But we do have 3 forms of it. Now, what do I mean by that? In real live music, you see the major scale everywhere. But the minor scale is not one of those things. It's malleable. So when you teach the minor scales, you are teaching a theoretical construct. Wow, good thing that's a graduate course. Okay. Now I completely forgot what I was talking about. It's a theoretical concept. It's not real life music. Okay. Why do we do theoretical things that aren't in real life music? We gotta fill the time. Okay. We've got a class that we're gonna teach every day. We gotta have material. Okay, so we're gonna switch to, and here's a term that's important, the parallel minor key. That means same tonic, different key signature. Relative means same key signature, different tonic. Now, instead of doing fixed do, where we're singing a scale beginning on La in the E flat key signature, we're gonna sing on Do. C is still Do. Now I do this, there's a couple things. If you have a fixed Do, well, there's a couple of fixed Do. Some systems are C is always Do. That's fixed. And there's also movable Do, and there's also movable Do with minor La. Okay? Now, if I'm singing in C major, if I want to sing A minor, I start on La, not on Do. But in my system, I start on Do, major or minor. But say I was singing the key of G minor with minor La using movable Do, that means G is La, La, Ti, Do, with 2 flats. But if I'm using fixed Do, it's Sol, La, Te, Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, little flat on the side. Okay, I had to think that through. Did you understand that? No. When I first came to USA, I used to say, does everyone understand? But after a couple of years, I changed it to, does anyone understand? Okay, so if I'm using fixed Do and I'm singing the G minor scale, I'm starting on So. If I'm using movable Do with La minor, I'm singing G on the letter La. If I'm using movable Do with Do minor, if I'm singing G minor, it's do. Now, why do I do it that way? Because I find it's more important to have a relative pitch to the tonic than it is to have fixed pitch on a syllable. So if I grew up in Eastern Europe, if I just thought do, I would sing a C. Or if I just thought so, I would sing a G. Whereas here in America, we think do is our tonic, whatever that is. Do you see the benefits of both? One thing, we're never going to be trained as well as Eastern Europeans, no matter what. It's not happening. They value music in the schools and things like that. And they teach solfege and all of that kind of stuff. So, come on in. You weren't scheduled to teach till next week.
No Victor?
Victor is coming back on Monday.
Okay.
He came yesterday, he's off today and tomorrow, back for the rest of
Because
his.
he's teaching or something?
Yes.
Okay, hope he gets registered or he may not be coming back at all.
All right, the register's deadline is Thursday?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm expecting a call from the administration's office.
Right, because you're in the same boat. Except Victor has a J number now and is ready to go. He's good to go. All you
Can
have to
he
do is
register?
And we've given him overrides, we think, on everything.
Well, I'll touch base with him.
Okay.
Today.
I'll touch base with him.
If you wanna do the touching, you do the touching.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But you need to figure it out after this class and get registered in there, so we can't go in and give you the overrides that you need yet. Okay? Sorry to interrupt.
Okay, we're talking about Eastern Europeans. Now, it's just different traditions. When I taught at Alabama, I had a graduate assistant who'd been trained in that tradition, and he was so exceptional at teaching solfege. He wasn't exceptional at doing other things, and there are books about this that you can refer to if you really want to step up that level of your teaching. And it gets to be where you take your solfege and singing your intervals off every other intervals, and you build it as if it's a tree of learning, like you may spend some days just going do, re, do, ti, do, and then the tree builds up until you're working from ti, la, ti, do, re, mi, re, do. I'm not very good at that, obviously, but then he'll put the syllables on the board and just point to them. And I think that's a valid thing to do. Other big sight singing stuff, I would have to say the leader in the industry around here, although it doesn't teach it, is Dr. Hebner. He's written a book, which is available in the library, that is extensive little games that you can play with people doing solfege or ear training of any kind. So here would be kind of a little game, is that you took a tune and you're just following along the song, and then you have to sing right on the right pitch and the right rhythm at any point. Is that, you're singing it in your head, and we'll look over some of those things. I'm not really prepared to play those sort of games today. All right, let's go with the three forms of the minor scale. And what we do is natural, harmonic, and then melodic. Hannah, are you familiar with the three forms of the minor scale?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now we need to think about our solfege syllables for the minor. When we lower something with an E, it becomes an A. So, do, re, mi. It's spelled ma, but it's me. Instead of M-I, it's M-E. All right? Fa, sol, lay, L-E, te, T-E, do. So it's do, re, mi, fa, sol, lay, te, do, te, lay, so, fa, mi, re. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, lay, ti, do, ti, lay, so, fa, mi, re. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, te, lay, so, fa, mi, re. Do, re, sorry. Do, re, so, mi, do, so, ti, re, fa, re, ti, so. Do, le, fa, do, so, re, do, fa, re, ti, do. Haven't done that one in a while. Do, le, fa, do, so, re, do, fa, re, ti. With the Picardy third. Are we prepared to sing all three forms of the minor scale with the arpeggiated triads and chords?
No.
We'll do it a little slower and I'll sing along too. So it's do, re, mi, and mi is spelled M-E, fa, so, lay is L-E, te is T-E, and do. Okay. A little slower. 1, 2, and we sing. Okay, we're gonna do this again. And when you sing, going back down, mi, re, do, you're gonna take a breath between re and your next do, and don't miss a beat. I think it's important when you're teaching that you establish good rhythm in all that you do. And we'll get back to that in a minute. Okay? So. This is the weirdest piano. There we go. No longer weird. Don't call me weird. Are we ready?
Yep.
Okay, for bonus points, who can name that composer and piece? Can't get a handle on it. Isn't that the Harmonious Blacksmith by Handel? Yes, it is. When he goes into the variations,
I thought it was used to go on faster.
Monday, Wednesdays, I teach theory for 3 straight hours, freshmen, sophomores, juniors. I often will teach the same material in all 3 classes. It's just a little bit different. No one cares though. Okay, C minor in all of its, okay, Okay, we're gonna sing the three scales, and we're gonna continue like re, re, do, oomph. Alright, here we go. 1, 2, ready, scales. Sol, ti, re, fa, re, ti, sol. Do, do, re, fa, do, sol, mi, do, fa, re, ti, do. Okay. Now, you guys can share. All different editions.
Thank you, I now have.
There may be a tenth
Oh, in my
of.
head.
Okay. Let's start on chapter 2. Well, dang it. Let's start on chapter 1. I have a small problem in that I don't find teaching rhythm very interesting. Okay, but let's begin on basically page 3-ish, where there are some rhythmic exercises. All right? Now, when I teach sight singing, it's difficult to get the students to do it, but I like for them to conduct while they sing. Now that makes it more difficult if you're clapping your hands. So let's do clapping first. On 1, the first exercise is just quarter notes and half notes. Is that what y'all got? Okay. 1, 2, ready, clap. Go ahead. That seemed easy enough. Okay, now there's a lot of different ways that you can syllabalize. Let's just do one enas. Let's count the same exercise using conducting. Now when we conduct, we don't want to get all, well, if you're a band director already or choral director, you should be familiar with teaching the conducting, but I just try to keep the kids in the box basically and not distracting, but clear, and don't want them to get all 37/8 on you. And some children are not very coordinated. It's a problem sometimes. Okay, I'll count to 2, then let's just conduct all the way down the page. Okay, just when we finish the one, go to the next. So we're gonna go like this: 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1. So if the note's being held, just say it very quietly to yourself, all right? In the beginning, ready, go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1.
1.
That's a
Oh,
2.
2.
All right, here we go. I'll say 1, you say 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Rest, rest, 2, 1. let's go ahead and say rest now for the rest. I think that's good. Next one, ready, go. 1, 1, 2, 1. Rest, rest. 1, 2, 1, 2. Rest, 2, 1, 2. Going into 3, it's down to the side and up. And this time, I'll do this and y'all all do that. And then we'll come in on 1. Did that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 1. 1, 3, 1. 1, 2, 3, 1. Rest, 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 rest. 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, good. That's not hard. Let's do one that's more challenging. Page one after the next, do you see anything that looks like 124?